About 6% of the US adult population shops compulsively. But how and when did shopping become an addiction for some? It was first described as a compulsive buying disorder in 1915 by the psychiatrist Emil Kraepelin. He called it Oniomania. In 1924, Eugene Bleuler concluded that buying disorder was a form of impulsive insanity and grouped it with kleptomania and pyromania. So, the first descriptions of buying disorder we have are from the 1920s. What link can we make between buying disorder and the Roaring Twenties? The Roaring Twenties refers to the 1920s, when music, fashion, and having fun were the main activities of the Western society. The buying disorder can come from social conditions, such as the consumer culture rising, and so compulsive buying as well. Also, compulsive buying disorder is frequently associated with substance use disorders and eating disorders. As we know, between the two world wars, people wanted to enjoy every moment. They were often partying, taking drugs, alcohol, eating a lot. We can assume that as they were falling in other disorders as substance use, they were developing social and buying disorder. We can actually read what life was like during the Roaring Twenties in The Great Gatsby, written by F. Scott Fitzgerald in 1925. People in the United States were crazy about new products. They didn't know what was next, so they spent all of their money on shopping. Although excessive shopping behaviors can be seen on national or worldwide events, a lot of people on Christmas spend an unreal amount of money on presents, food, and decorations. Same on crises such as COVID-19. When people are afraid, they buy unneeded things. It's a way of distressing themselves or just an ideal of survival thoughts. However, those type of excessive buying are related to the consumer society or mass hysteria, but there is no scientific link with disorders. Consumer society and buying disorder are two different things, yet they can sometimes work together.
Oniomania can start in a number of ways and can be influenced by a number of factors such as social and cultural influences, emotional problems, stress, depression, or the pursuit of instant gratification. First, it can start from the social aspect. We can say that for many people, the way others look at us can make us seek their approval in a need for self-confidence. Indeed, we live in a society that sometimes pushes us to extremes. If you succeed in satisfying the outside eye, you get a sudden burst of dopamine. This dopamine encourages people to repeat the experience and therefore to buy again. After this stage, these people associate this feeling of pleasure with the purchase, and that's when the addiction begins, with the aim of renewing this wonderful feeling. But the good feeling begins to fade, and so do the addicts. They start to buy more and more, the dopamine is less and less stimulated, so they buy more and more, and so the vicious cycle begins. This pattern repeats itself depending on the original factor. Then, negative emotions, such as stress, anxiety or depression, can lead some people to resort to compulsive shopping as a way of dealing with these emotions. For people with the disorder, it's a way to relax and avoid the negative emotions. Compulsive shopping can become the means of temporarily relieving stress or achieving instant gratification. However, oniomania can sometimes be associated with other mental disorders such as anxiety, mood, or personality disorders.
Nowadays, shopping is easier than ever. In only a few clicks, I can buy nearly anything I want. This is really convenient for large majority of the population, especially those with limited movement, either because they don't have the driver's license or they're disabled or any other reason. But there's a slightly hidden consequence. It's made oniomania, or shopping addiction, much easier to manifest itself. On top of that, the internet and television are filled with adverts everywhere. The average person sees upwards of 4,000 to 10,000 adverts a day. And these are getting more and more targeted to individual people. And although you might think like, yeah, these adverts don't really have an effect on me or on anybody, the fact that one of the most profitable businesses in the world, Google, basically just only does adverts, should tell you how much they work. They wouldn't make that much money if they weren't really doing anything. Whilst we're on the subject of advertising, did you know that this video is sponsored by NordVPN? The rise of online shopping caused a new term to be coined. Yeah, OSA, or online shopping addiction, very original, was coined due to the sheer prominence and scale of the problem. A study at Isabella State University found that there are 4 main reasons why people use online shopping rather than going in person. The first two are somewhat logical: convenience and trendiness. But what I found interesting are the other two: boredom and entertainment. Boredom increases impulsive behavior. This was shown at a study in the University of Borås in Sweden. And it's estimated that 26% of internet buyers have bought something, another product, purely out of boredom, not because of any need. And on top of that, for some people, just scrolling through online shopping apps is in itself a form of entertainment. The study also found 2 main themes on the impacts of OSA: financial trouble and strained relationship, and a worsening of the addiction. The most obvious consequence, of course, is financial trouble. They spend money until they have no more cash, or until they've maxed out credit cards. But to be able to satisfy their needs or quench their urges, they often borrow money from their friends and family, but they're unable to pay them back. And as much as their friends and their family want to help them, if they're causing them financial trouble, it will put a large strain on the relationship. Another finding that seems to support this conclusion is that people suffering from online shopping addiction often have low life satisfactions and are lacking in basic emotional needs, such as love, acceptance, and they just generally feel lonely. And on top of that, people who are hooked to online shopping often feel disappointed and empty when their package arrives, because they're just disappointed in themselves. They know they have a problem, but they can't seem to stop. I mean, that's kind of what an addiction is. So, these people live stressful or empty lives, and they try to find respite in the only way they know how, by buying things online, as a coping mechanism, as an escape from their cruel reality, despite knowing full well that it's destroying their lives, drowning them in debt, stress, and misery. It's no shock that there's a link between oniomania and substance use disorders. They both complement each other in a spiral to misery and addiction. Nerds.
In conclusion, compulsive shopping disorder dates from the beginning of the 20th century. The origins of oniomania are not known. We don't have the exact date, so we can say that it's a problem that goes back a long way, like kleptomania and pyromania. However, the number of people affected by these disorders has increased, partly due to the easier access to shop in the 20th century. The main periods of economic growth, such as the Roaring Twenties, allowed people to buy more easily, and so develop the symptoms of oniomania. In each case, the triggering element remains a mental health problem but social and emotional factors can exacerbate Désolé Louis. In each case, the triggering element remains a mental health problem, but social and emotional factors can exacerbate the disorder.